And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, this is great. We've had this story emailed to us from some of our listeners. The guy Street People from Los Angeles sent it to me, and Daniel Gus sent it to me. Karen Bass's Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Brian Williams, pled guilty to calling in a fake bomb threat to City Hall.
Who does that? Outside of on an episode of Seinfeld.
This, of course, was the guy that you would imagine is Karen Bass's liaison to LAPD and LAFD and making sure all the departments are talking to each other. And this guy was on leave when the fire started because he was making bomb threats.
And we know that they weren't communicating with one another, the agencies. For example, the fire department didn't know that the reservoir was empty and didn't know until the fire already started and there was no water in the reservoir to help them fight the fire with. That fell under this guy's umbrella. But instead of doing his job, he was calling in bomb threats.
Well, and look at Karen Bass's vetting system for the people that she appoints to these very high-powered, very high-paying jobs. Not only Mr. Bomb Threat here, but don't forget, she was the one that appointed Valicia Adams-Kellum, Valicia Adams-Kellum to head LASA for a salary of $430,000 a year. And what did we find out a couple of weeks ago? Oh, she was cooking the books and not showing the real progress of Inside Safe because she didn't want to make Karen Bass look bad. On top of wiring money from LASA to her husband's nonprofit and trying to get vendors to pay for an open bar at the LASA Christmas party.
Wow, Karen Bass really does hire the best and the brightest, doesn't she?
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we brought you a story some time ago about the state of California allowing inmates to participate in conjugal visits with the missus or whomever it is that's lonely enough to write them letters and drive to the prison for a roll in the hay.
There's a whole reality show about that.
2 of them ended up dead, and now they're talking about getting rid of the program.
For more on how exactly we allowed 2 women to get murdered during a conjugal visit at Mule Creek Prison in Amador County, here is CBS Sacramento.
Tonight, questions and answers about conjugal visits after 2 women were killed during a visit with their intimate inmate partners.
Oh, it's a story you'll see.
Wait, was one of them out of wedlock?
Intimate inmate partners. Wait, you think those inmates are living in sin?
I think one of them was married. I think one of them was not.
Quite a family man.
Oh, it's a story you'll see only on CBS 13. Your report.
See, they all do this.
It's exclusive.
It's a story you'll see only on CBS 13. Your reporter, Madison Keevy, getting answers about cons and conjugal visits in California and the...
There's some alliteration for you.
Well, you can't do this story without it.
Cons and conjugal visits in California and the early push to end that program.
Okay, it is Sweeps Week, so you knew that the music was coming.
Well, you can't do this story without music. Either this kind of menacing music or porno music when you talk about the Mark Antony and Cleopatra suite that they performed the act in.
By the act, do you mean fornication or the strangling?
Well, both.
I'm outraged. I am outraged. I am sick to my stomach.
That's one long note.
Yeah.
Okay,
and by the way, let me just put it out there. If you're dumb enough or desperate enough to go to a prison for a conjugal visit with someone who's in there for doing something violent, I say more power to you. If your judgment leads you to the conclusion that that's a good idea, then I'm willing to risk your health and well-being to allow you to do that.
Tanya Thomas and Stephanie Dowells, 2 women killed within months, strangled while on conjugal visits with their inmate partners inside Mule Creek State Prison in Amador County. Both those cons serving life sentences for murder.
We just want answers, what could be done,
not even just for the sake of my mom.
Did you want any answers about why she went up there?
No. Okay, here's the deal. You look at the brains when they die and they do the autopsy. The brains of killers are different than the brains for everyone else. They're like dogs with rabies. There's something wrong with them. There's something wrong in their brains chemically. And these women are willing to go in an apartment without security in the custody of these men for a weekend. What is wrong with you? I know what's wrong with them. What's wrong with you?
She can fix him, John.
How'd that work out?
Not even just for the sake of my mom, but for the future, for somebody else's mom, somebody else's wife. If it's somebody with a violent history like this, I think they should really reconsider.
There's still a lot we don't know about what happened to Tanya and Stephanie once they drove through the gates of this multi-level security prison on conjugal visits last year. Their deaths have sparked calls for transparency about these visits.
What is there to be transparent about? They allow conjugal visits so these guys can blow off steam so they don't kill each other or kill the guards. If the woman is willing to consciously decide to travel to the prison for this conjugal visit, I don't know what else to say. You have the choice to not be in the prison with a killer, or you have the choice to be there with them for 2 straight days without anyone else in the room.
Do you think they cleaned the apartment in between murders?
I would hope so.
And are still under investigation. Conjugal visits offer privacy away from prison staff for inmates to meet with a lover.
Gross.
And you know what? Now that these lovers are gone, they'll find 2 more lickety-split.
And you get in there, and they'll let you stay there for 2 to 4 days.
2 to 4 days?
Yes.
In apartments like these at Wasco State Prison in Kern County.
Hey, someday soon you could take the high-speed rail there.
That's where I sent Grandpa when I was on jury duty, that same facility.
How long did he last?
Less than a year.
The rooms are decorated for families and children who can attend as well.
Wait, we want to send kids to the conjugal visit apartment with the murderers?
Okay, now that's a bad idea.
Mississippi was the first state to legalize conjugal visits to motivate black inmates to work harder in the fields.
It was based on...
I didn't realize it went that far back.
Whoa!
And it was based on completely racist premises that, like, black people don't have self-control, don't have morals, they're somewhat less than us. So this, like, giving them this primal opportunity to have sex.
Governor Ronald Reagan allowed conjugal visits in California starting in the 1960s.
He was the...
Why, Ronnie? Why?
I'm telling you, it's so they don't kill each other.
So what if they do?
Well, they still might do that, but they're less likely to if they can blow off steam.
He was the first governor outside of Mississippi to say, oh, maybe this is a good idea.
Experts point to the benefits.
There is a lot of sexual violence in men's prisons.
Yes, and there still is.
It's not just A or B. It's all of the above. That's an option.
That is how order is preserved. And there is a lot of prison rape. And there has been a lot of legislation.
Now, if your wife comes for the conjugal visit, are you allowed to also invite your cellmate if that cellmate is also your bitch?
No. Well, maybe, actually. I don't know how big the apartment is. Maybe you can have a rotisserie.
I'd like the Katie Hill, please.
Legislation and programming about it at both the state and the federal level. This is another strategy to try to cut down on the sexual violence in prison.
How about castration?
I'm not so sure it'll cut down on sexual violence in prison. If you have it in you to rape someone else, I don't think this is going to stop it. I mean, at Costco, they give you a sample so you might buy the product, right?
Yes.
Safety on the inside for incarcerated people and for staff of the prisons, for the mental health of people on the inside. for the mental health of their loved ones, especially if they have children.
Most states have ended conjugal visits, citing costs. Now, only 4 states, California, Connecticut, New York, and Washington, still allow them.
How about that? 46 states have outlawed this practice, and California is one of the only 4 that is still allowing conjugal visits.
It's us and New York and Connecticut and who else?
Washington.
Okay.
Reactionary policy does not always serve the general public in a way that public policy should. Tragic incidents make tragic policies.
Tanya's.
Well, so should we continue letting the women get murdered at Amador?
I'd let it happen in terms of the conjugal visits.
You have to sign a waiver first, right, before you get in there?
Yeah, it's like when you go skydiving.
Tanya's and Stephanie's families want conjugal visits in California suspended until prison officials can figure out how to keep visitors safe.
Well, murderers are going to murder.
You can't. These are bad people. Those prisons are filled with bad people. Just because they tell you on television they made bad choices, they're good people who made bad choices, they're lying to you. They're bad people. Don't go anywhere near them. If you choose to go somewhere near them, fine, that's on you.
Republican Assemblyman David Tangipa wants to go a step further and stop conjugal visits permanently.
I just find it so crazy that we just went about our day. There were 2 women that have been strangled to death within the same year at the same prison and with no action behind it.
When the guards discovered the body, the second one, did they go, not again?
Probably.
I found out that guards actually go to Target, pick up date night, and grab condoms, food, snacks.
Whoa.
So your tax dollars, all that cost when Gavin Newsom says that it costs $150,000 a year to house a prisoner in California, and that's why we have to empty out all the prisons. Some of that money is going for the guards to go to Target on a fun run for condoms and snacks.
All right, let's see what we have on the list here. We've got some condoms. We've got a bag of Doritos, both regular and Cool Ranch. We've got a lovely box of wine. We've got a Duraflame log, and for some reason, they want a zucchini. Maybe they're making a salad.
I found out that guards actually go to Target, pick up date night, and grab condoms, food, snacks, take that, and then the prisoner that is there, life in prison without parole, is moved to an on-site apartment complex. It was insanity that we're having paid date night off of the backs of taxpayers for murderers in prison.
And it wasn't just one night. They were there for multiple days.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine the Hilton honors points they're racking up?
And the officers, the guards were supposed to check on them like once a day.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you want to walk in on that? I wouldn't.
Taxpayers are paying for this.
For date night in prison.
I find that people use these electroshock words like date night, and it just shows they don't understand anything. They don't understand what prisoners are going through, and they don't understand what corrections officers are going through.
Okay, what you just heard come out of this woman's mouth is why I have no respect for the psychiatric profession. Because that's what they all sound like. They would bring in these people as experts when I sat on that trial as a juror who sounded exactly like that. And for whatever reason, the other jurors were really impressed.
Well, it had the name expert. They must know what they're talking about.
Oh, they're doctor, too.
Well, we know how hollow that term can be.
Yeah.
Do you see a world where California stops the conjugal visits?
Not California.
On that, she's probably right.
CDCR temporarily stopped family visits back in March after a surge in violence against both staff and inmates.
Wait, I thought the conjugals was supposed to stop that.
It's not foolproof.
Not because of Tanya and Stephanie's deaths.
So they didn't stop it because 2 women got murdered. They stopped it because the guards were getting beaten.
Seems like there's a lot that's going sideways up there.
Then, just last week, visits started again. But for Tanya and Stephanie's families,
Oh, the music's back.
Oh, here we go.
But for Tanya and Stephanie's families, these state-sanctioned conjugal visits came at the ultimate cost.
We need to get these stories out. We need to get these policies, procedures changed urgently, because there could be visitors up there right now that's about to die.
Well,
I bet you there are.
Couldn't say we didn't warn them.
Now, these cases are making their way through the courts. Anthony Curry has been charged in Tanya Thomas's death and has already appeared for the first time in court. That was last month. David Brinson, however, has not been charged with anything. And we're told by the Amador County DA that they are waiting on a supplemental investigation before making any charging decisions here.
Well, what do you think happened? She just choked on her own?
Remember those two sisters who got in trouble for buying life insurance policies on homeless people, and then they'd run them over in downtown L.A.?
Oh, yeah.
And then collect the policies? I wonder if it's legal to buy life insurance policies on the women who are going up there for conjugal visits.
Of course, I'll also say we're waiting for a list of responses from CDCR, from numbers to costs to, more information about those alleged target runs.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's pretty eye-opening to hear what they had to say about, okay, well, we want to stop the sexual desires or whatever in prison. But when you hear a lot of this, too, a lot of the pros are the fact that they want to keep those family ties in an effort.
I don't know if you need to keep these family ties. These are people that are never getting out.
Yeah, if you're not coming out, it's not like, okay, we need to keep the family intact because dad's going to be rejoining us in a year. No. The next time you're going to see dad is when someone's mowing above him once a week. That's it.
In an effort for the prisoners to not go through recidivism and get out and be more angry and continue crimes.
Right. And they say that there's data. I mean, the experts I talked to say that there is just years and years of data that show it works, that there's
No, it doesn't.
What evidence exists that shows that?
Data. Let me quote my friend George Gascon.
You can come up with data to support almost any argument.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Jacob writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com that is listening to the show while he's watching the the Sacramento A's play the Angels. Johnny, it's a beautiful day for baseball in NorCal. Come out to Sac, the Oakland A's, in my best Shangy voice.
Oakland Bees!
Sacramento A's are beating those Angels from Anaheim. It's our beautiful park, and we'll keep Oakland's trash team if we have to.
Well, right now it's 5-2 A's, but if the Angels pull off a comeback, then we'll sweep the A's. It'll be our second sweep in a row because we swept the Dodgers over the weekend.
And we still got our Oakland A's, baby.
No, you don't.
And Randy, as we approach the end of the show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
Absolutely.
First time we played that today. Go to the John Phillips Show on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify. Search for the John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. Download all the episodes.
Absolutely.
800-222-5222 is telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. And Randy, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes the Beach Boys with special guest John Stamos at the Long Beach Terrace Theater on August 10th. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. Right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Niederlander Concerts. Good luck dialing. I wonder if Ricardo Lara is going to go to that show, because if he goes to see them perform Kokomo live, he can check off all the countries that he got paid to visit by the insurance companies.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
Did you see the update we just got from listener Jacob, who is at the A's and Angels game in Sacramento?
What happened now?
Okay, so I responded to him and said, we need to come back for the sweep. And then he responded to me by saying, LOL, the only broom in the state is being occupied by Barbara Ferrer.
Next slide.
It is top of the 7th now.
Good on him for taking a completely gratuitous shot at her.
Are you going to go to that stadium?
I'm going to try, but all of the games this year between the Angels and the A's are in the middle of the week, and that makes it hard for me because I'm doing the show.
So maybe we should
I
broadcast live from the West Sacramento field.
Oh, could you imagine? I'd do it. Although I don't think they go back up there until August. And sitting in direct sunlight in Sacramento in August just seems like a miserable experience waiting to happen.
And we still got our Oakland A's, baby.
You really don't.
All right, let's take some calls. Let's go to Bill in La Cagata. Bill, hello.
Hi, guys. Hey, John, I agree that psychology is mostly bunk, but the psychologist in that piece about the conjugal visits is correct that you have to reduce the prisoner's erotic desire. So I think we need legislation requiring that the only person who can show up for these prison dates is Katie Porter.
Thank you for the call, sir.
Little D.
As soon as he started, I had a feeling he was going to go somewhere out in left field.
I thought he was going to say Ferrer.
You know, Randy, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know when you're going to bite in one of those disgusting cherry and alcohol-filled ones.
Next slide.
Let's go to Bob in San Jose. Bob, hello.
Hello, this is Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, John.
Is that with 1 O or 2?
Bob is with 1 O.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Go ahead, sir.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was calling in to tell you about my story of insurance fraud with a Section 8 tenant that took down my insurance company for about $150,000.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And the worst part about that is I complained to law enforcement, Department of Insurance Fraud Division, to the FBI, and everybody else. And face-to-face meetings, they did nothing.
Do they return your calls? Do they return your emails? Or is it just falling on deaf ears across the board?
Well, we met with the Department of Insurance for 2 hours. We drove all the way up there, an hour and a half from San Jose, to meet with them, showed them all the stuff. They wouldn't make a meeting time, so we had to kind of force our way in up there. Then said he was going to meet with us the next day. We gave him a bunch of evidence and everything else, and didn't do a damn thing. And then we met with the FBI 3 times personally also, said they were going to do something about it also. Never did anything about it. And very, very frustrating. I've owned my property for 40 years, and it's perfect. And there was a story done on it on NBC Investigates.
Oh, we played that story, Bob. I remember you. I remember the story perfectly. And it seemed like they were just kind of like, oh, this just happens and there's nothing we can do about it. But there's so much fraud. No wonder the insurance rates are through the roof. I remember your story.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the problem here is that they all know it, and they do nothing about it. And the NBC investigator actually did one of those subpoenas to get all the evidence. He told me they gave him only about 2 or 3 pieces of paper, but we had an interview in their office done by video. They had probably several hundred pieces of documents. Everything's documented. They did nothing. I was told by the 2 insurance companies, one in particular, that there's no use in filing a complaint with the Department of Insurance California because nothing ever happens, so we don't waste our time doing it. And their own attorney told them this never happened. None of this ever happened. There was no evidence. They had no discovery. They just gave them $150,000 and another, I think, $50,000 from my property management company. So it's about $200,000 for nothing.
And then they raised your rates, right?
No, well, I don't have insurance now because of this situation. Luckily, I own my property free and clear. If I didn't, I would be getting foreclosed on right now. And it's very scary, and I'm very concerned. And I'm just voicing my case here to anybody who will listen, any attorney, any law enforcement officer, because something needs to be done about this crap. And you have people running this state, Gov Scum, and also this other guy, Shiftless. That's after his name changed from Shifty, obviously. But this is ridiculous, and it needs to be stopped. The criminals are winning here, and I can't see how any of these people can be reelected whatsoever.
Well, and we wonder why, A, the state is broke, because we're spending more money than we're taking in. And if you have fraud that's going on, as we know is going on right now in the insurance industry, we know it happened with EDD to the tune of how many billions of dollars, Randy?
30.
$30 billion was stolen from the state of California through EDD fraud. We know, looking at the bullet train, that there's all kinds of graft that's going on there, and everyone just looks the other way. No one seems to care. No one seems to be bothered by any of this. And then we also have the insurance crisis going on, where none of us can buy insurance because they say they can't make money in the state of California. Well, if you're being robbed blind, as you just described is going on right now with your situation, then of course they can't make money here because the locals, the authorities, they're supposed to blow the whistle on fraud. They're supposed to arrest people. They're supposed to prosecute people because if you don't go after the people who are stealing from the till, there's going to be no money left for the rest of us if, God forbid, your house were to burn down or there was some kind of natural disaster that caused damage to your property. And what ultimately ends up happening is that these companies just pull out of the market altogether. So many of us are placed on the FAIR plan, which is the plan of last resort, or you have to go to these shady companies that may or may not be around, that may or may not pay out on what they owe you, instead of going to a blue chip company that everyone understands is at least held to certain standards. But this is the mess that we live with on a daily basis. And it's because our elected officials don't do the job that they were elected to do. They're not interested in performing the job that they were elected to perform. And for whatever reason, voters are highly tolerant of that. Why? I don't know. We pay a fortune to live here. The government should provide the services that we're paying for, and they're not. Thank you for the call, sir. And Randy, I'm pleased to report to you that the Angels are now in the lead 7-5 in the bottom of the seventh.
Oh, look at you.
If they win, that's a sweep. And it looks like we have time for one more edition to the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition takes us to the city of Commerce.
Famous for the Commerce Casino, where we reported a few weeks ago that people were getting robbed if they won a jackpot. Well, there's an industrial park in Commerce that was full of illegal fireworks. And in fact, the cops seized 100,000 pounds of illegal fireworks, the largest raid of its kind.
It sounded like that's what went off in Santa Clarita.
For more, here's ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
It is getting hot, and this just happened today. A big fireworks bust in the city of Commerce. More than 100,000 pounds of illegal fireworks seized. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter live with new details on what's being called one of the largest busts of illegal fireworks ever in our state. Leanne.
Mark, that high heat, especially all across the valleys here, not only raising the temperature, but also raising the risk of fires. And the state fire marshal says already this year there have been a number of serious fires caused by fireworks. And today the department made a...
This is all after we saw a huge chunk of this city burn down in January. Dumbasses are still blowing up things with fireworks and starting fires.
How many stories have we done today about either arsonists lighting fires on purpose or teenagers lighting off bombs that they claim are fireworks?
Is it any wonder that we're constantly in a fear of fire? I don't even think people think about earthquakes anymore in Los Angeles.
No, the fires have just totally overwhelmed us.
Today, the department made a major bust on a large stash of illegal fireworks. A warehouse packed with pallets full of illegal fireworks, more than 100,000 pounds seized by CAL FIRE. State and federal agents raiding the site in Commerce early this morning, making the sizable bust.
This is the first time I'm seeing this, so it's pretty crazy.
You know what's funny? And I actually wrote a column about this for the Register some time ago. There was, I believe it was in the state of Maine. I'd have to go back and look, so fact check me if you've got time, where there was a kid who put a mortar on the back of his head and lit off a firework literally off his head. And they thought that that would be funny. And it blew his head clean off. And so the grieving mother went before the legislature sobbing, "You have to ban fireworks because my child was beheaded because of it." And because of the stupid act of a teenager, they went ahead and did it. That was enough. That's all they needed to hear. Let's go ahead and ban it because the dumbest among us may do something that results in their head being blown off. Yet you've got a situation like this where we're in a region that's uninsurable due to fire risk, and we have people lighting these things off right and left, and no one cares.
Well, technically, it's illegal, but is no way to enforce it. There are certain jurisdictions that really, really, really enforce it, like Carmel by the Sea. Outside of that, just because fireworks are illegal doesn't mean anyone can do anything about it.
This is definitely one of the largest seizures that California has seen of fireworks.
Large rental trucks lined up to haul away the fireworks to a safe storage facility. Investigators say the owner at the center of the investigation.
Gosh, remember, what was it, a year and a half ago, where LAPD seized a whole bunch of fireworks and they decided that the best thing to do would be to detonate them on site inside this specialized van, and then the van blew up half the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Investigators say the owner at the center of the investigation is a licensed fireworks importer and exporter.
But he was buying all the stuff he wasn't supposed to be buying.
Bad boy.
But say that they were storing
a couple of Tijuana bottle rockets.
But say that they were storing the dangerous explosives illegally. These photos from CAL FIRE show the fireworks stacked floor to ceiling.
It's the fuel load, right? I mean, that's a lot of risk just in a smaller condensed area. So one false move, it could just set the whole thing off. It's very dangerous.
Adding to the explosive risk, our sudden heat wave. As temperatures soar, so does the fire risk. This blaze breaking out the Sepulveda Basin. One person was hurt, but is expected to be okay.
Oh, that was yesterday. This is great. So this is right in my neck of the woods. And there are fires in this area 4 to 6 times a year in the Sepulveda Basin where there's a homeless encampment. And one time there was a fire that ended up being an explosion because there was a grenade in the homeless encampment. And what do you know, Johnny? This exact place where that fire started in the Sepulveda Basin is one of the venues for the Olympics 3 years from now.
How in the hell are we going to be ready for the Olympics with all this chaos going on a daily basis?
We're not. Not with current leadership.
This blaze breaking out the Sepulveda Basin. One person was hurt, but is expected to be okay. Firefighters hitting the flames hard from the air and the ground, keeping the fire contained to 4 acres, no structures damaged.
But they did have to shut down the Orange Line, which is going to be great for the public transit Olympics.
CAL FIRE says since January of this year, California has seen over $4 million in property loss from fireworks-caused fires.
But keep them coming.
Officials offering these tips as we approach the 4th of July.
Never use illegal fireworks. Never allow young children to handle fireworks. Keep a bucket of water nearby to fully extinguish those fireworks.
Yeah. Well, all of those recommendations will fall on deaf ears.
If we're not serious about enforcement, this is just going to keep happening and happening and happening because there's obviously a market for it.
All right, that's going to do it for us today, but we'll be back tomorrow at noon for another edition of The John Phillips Show.